Welcome to the Alexander Hill podcast. Today we have Steven Anderson. Steven Anderson is a healer, and he is here today to talk about healing, to talk about the indigenous wisdom that he has learned and carries. And he is a very special man, near and dear to my heart. He married my wife and I hold a lot of respect for this brother here. He's an elder to me and a mentor to me, and it's an honor to have you on the show. Steve, welcome.
Thank you, Alexander. I just in this poly world that we live in, I facilitated the event. What a blessing that was. What a blessing that was to officiate your wedding and to be there in that capacity. And it's like in the journey that we've taken together. It's like you, I shall in Phoenix, in the world now, it's like, and I really deeply value our friendship, and how we got here, and those, it's like you brought up, I'm a healer, and it's like, I'll just start. I'm a recovering addict and alcoholic and, survivor. And, it's like from all kinds of, we all have our stories, and ours is the worst because it's ours, and I mean, and it's all beautiful too, but I couldn't find the help that I needed, and I really needed to heal badly. I was circling the drain as a kid. I'm blessed that my adult life has been a sober one, that I've been able to, move through, and many tools have presented themselves, the 12-step program, the 4 agreements, later on, the 10 rules of the canoe, but I've been really blessed to have a little more faith than fear. And what that's done is it brought me to a path where I couldn't find the help that I needed, or maybe I just wasn't open to accept it or whatever, but I needed to heal. So I became a healer. When Reiki was introduced to me, it's just like I took to it like a duck to water. It's like it was one of the first modalities that just, that touched me in a way that, with first attunement that I was given, it was like Sarah had put the missing piece of the puzzle to my heart, and everything went, and I was just like, whoa, that's why I'm always zigging when everyone's zagging. And I'm like, I'm over here when they're over there. And, it's like, for me, it's like, I haven't been able, I'm not one of those people. I can read a book, but I don't really learn that way. I'm a very tactile person. Like right now, I got this to keep me grounded, it's a little whale baleen, the wisdom keepers, so I just figured maybe if, I asked them, I said a little prayer before we got started that, that they could sit with our conversation here, and bring us to that place of what we're supposed to talk about, and while we have these mediums available to us, this isn't how I learned this stuff, but this is where we're sitting now, and I know if my ancestors had, DeWalt cordless tools, they would have used them to build their homes. And, it's like, and I'm happy to share, I've been blessed, that healing process revealed to me that really service is the key. It's the verb of love. If I need to be lifted, if I lift you up, I'm going to be lifted. I don't know why that works, but I absolutely know it works. I learned that in the 12-step program. When 2 people come together in the name of that wellness, you don't have to explain anything to anybody. It's like they already know the hurt. They already know the mindset. They already know if they've been through something similar, it's like they've already been, you don't have to connect the dots with them. They're already standing in that place of willingness to, and earlier on we talked about, it's like, what do you reach out to? Who do you reach out to? I'm a healer's healer. And that's been revealed. And I spent a lot of time trying to work with, and I work with individuals too, but to deepen that relationship with individuals, that it's, I'm happy to share what little I know, and I'm barely scratching the surface, but I don't think it does any good for us to play down the conversations that need to be had now. You know, it's kind of like if I'm playing a game of chess, I'm only going to get better if I play someone who knows how to play better than I do.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You know, and if I pander to the lowest common denominator so they can understand, you know, I've like spent decades, you know, I've 6 decades around the sun, you know, gathering information, and you know, I've been paying attention, and I barely know the questions.
Yeah.
You know, and they keep changing. Yeah.
You
So,
know,
yeah.
I'm thinking about how we can be most of service with this talk, and what's intuitively coming to me is, you know, after working with many men in circle and being part of many men's groups, my own and other men's groups as well, the domestic abuse, the child abuse, the amount of sexual abuse that happens to men and that men experience is nowhere near the numbers that are reported. I would say,
Oh.
you know, one in 2 men have experienced some kind of abuse or sexual trauma from the groups that I've held, and you know, a lot of this goes unreported. So I think the way that, you know, we can be of service to a lot of men out there who haven't shared the stories of their abuse or haven't had an opportunity to go there is by just us being authentic and vulnerable about that topic.
Yeah. Yeah. I agreed. You know, an alarming statistic, Alexander, is 98% of all people incarcerated were molested. Were victims of child abuse in one form or another. Usually it's sexual abuse. You know, 98%. You know, so if that topic like was addressed and we found a healthy way to give counseling, to give support to those who have been through that experience, we could empty the prisons. You know, it manifested my way. You know, it's like in addiction, drugs, alcohol, anything and everything, people, places, and things. Anything I could ingest not to feel what I was feeling. Because when I grew up, there's a conversation that wasn't being had. You know, it was swept under the rug. It's like, you know, when my parents found out about this, my father was a priest, and he went on to perform this guy's marriage ceremony, and my mom catered the reception. I was 12 years old. I was like, I don't even belong in my family. Like, this cat's more important to, you know, and I don't bring that up. You know, it's like I've done the work. I'm no longer a victim from it. It's an experience. I'm not the experience that I had. It formulated my perspectives. It affected every relationship I've ever been in, you know, because like draws alike, you know, and I would draw in people to me that would illuminate these issues that I walk with. And most of them had the same issues, you know. And I think later on, as a recovered adult, I realized that you know, we came together to help each other learn the things that we needed, you know, to just mirror back to each other. You know, it's like, how can I see? I can't see what I can't see until I can see it. But when I see it in someone else, you know, one of the things in the program in recovery is, if you spot it, you got it. You know? So it's like, if I'm pointing at you going, you know, oh, you're all fucked up about this, that, or the other thing, it's really, if it's triggering me, it's something that's inside of me that I haven't resolved, you know? And it's really important. It's, you know, it's like to be able to take ownership of that. And once I have, then and only then am I free to do something about it. You know, and the issue of you know, child molestation and domestic abuse and all of those things, you know, it's like, if we all gave each other permission just to go, hey, this is what it is. You know, I feel really blessed that I've been sober my adult life, you know, because you can't heal what you don't feel. And if you keep anesthetizing and you start and keep distracting yourself and you don't look at the issues, and you can't walk through them, how do you know what to walk through? You know, but what I found in just the same truth, like in the 12 steps, if I lift you up, You know, we have sponsors, we have people who have been through it before, and they help us go through it. And then they tell us, you can't keep it unless you give it away. You gotta help them. You gotta lift somebody else up behind you. And, you know, and it's like, and you know, what I realized is like, I entered a very small demographic when I confronted the perpetrator. You know, many people have been through it, but not many people have confronted the perpetrator.
What do you mean by that, Steve? Confronting?
Okay, well, confronted. I called up like when I was 19. I think I was 9. I think I might have been 20. But I called this guy up and I said, "Hey,
the guy who molested you?"
Yeah, exactly. You know, I found his number. You know, and I'd been doing a lot of work. And I already, you know, the 4th step, the inventory process, looking at myself, all this stuff coming bubbling up, and I'm looking at that, you know, I'm looking at that, and I knew that I had to speak to it. And so my dad, you know, was helping me. My dad was a priest. He was also a counselor. He was a person I would have sought out as a friend. He was like, thousands of people came to his wake, you know, and he was just that kind of guy. You know, he was there for people. He was like, he stood in many aspects of really important aspects of people's lives, marriages, deaths, you know, counseling, you know, and all kinds of, you know, it's like, and I've gotten a snippet of that, you know, with you, for, you know, holding that space for you, and I shall, you know, and, you know, I got to know my dad a little bit better by that experience, you know, and it's, you know, it's like, and he was supportive in my process, you know, afterwards, the aftermath, but he didn't know how to deal with. He was adopted. My mom was adopted. He had his own bag of shit to walk through. I know that now as an adult, but as a kid, I didn't know that. So I was like, check, please, I'm out, you know? But when I did come time to dealing with it, you know, it's like, I knew I'd have to confront this, you know? And so I did it over the phone. I was in California, and I called up, and, you know, and he's like, "Oh, how you doing?" I'm going, "Look, this isn't a social call." I said, "I got good news. I got bad news. The good news is I no longer want to kill myself as a result of what you put upon me." And I was lying. The bad news is that I have, through this whole process. And I found recovery, you know, and I was early on in recovery, you know, and I went on to count, you know, it's like I was counting days and months, and I'd pick up and I'd count more days and months. I'd pick up again. You know, it's like, and finally I got to the place where, you know, I was like, somebody was celebrating 5 years in recovery, and I had 5 days, and I 12-stepped them into the program. And I was in the middle of one of my Dennis Miller rants, you know, just like going, God, you know, it's like, you know, no knowing slogan quote and wannabe guru parrots. And I'm like, it's a condition of spirit, not a measure of time. And I was like, what the fuck was that? Like somebody had said that, and I didn't, like, I'm like, and then it is, that's exactly what sobriety is a condition of spirit, not a measure of time. So much emphasis, like, how long you been sober? Who gives a fuck how long I've been sober? Longer than some, less than others. Doesn't make, you know, me any better than or any worse than anyone else.
So you would say addiction is spiritual?
Oh yeah, I would say it's a physical allergy for sure. You know, once I have one drink or one, you know, one joint or one anything, you know, I mean, my drug of choice is more. It's like volume. You know, I partied like an accomplished rock star. You know, I mean, one night I did 75 hits of acid. That's not recreational drug use. You know, I mean, I booted up a gram of coke one time. You know, my friends got up and left. They didn't want to see me die. They loved me. You know, so I'm addicted to the extreme. And you know, at this point in my life, it's you would think after, you know, so many decades around the sun, it's like, you know, that I can't look at my, you know, there's a part, our character defects, you know, they call them shortcomings, character defects. I can't call them character defects anymore. You know, I've done so much work to allow them to change, and have surrendered them. You know, I have to look at them more as characteristics of who I am. You know, a little bit's good, a lot's got to be great. And so now I just try to channel it into more healthy obsessions. And they are obsessions. I mean, when I get focused on something, I'm on it,
Yeah.
you know,
I,
and
I want to stay on this topic of addiction because I feel like it's really powerful, Steve. Would you say addiction is filling a void?
oh, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
what could that void be for some people, and what was that void for you?
Oh, I think it's really actually the same for all of us. I think we all want to love and be loved. You know, I think that that void is separation anxiety. You know, it's real, it's low-lying fruit. When I do my inventory work and I look at it, you know, the chief motivator of every self-injurious behavior I engaged in was fear, you know? And early on I said, you know, I've been blessed to have a little bit more faith than fear. So I've you know, it's like I've managed to catch that next breath. Which with, as long as there's a pulse in your, you know, still coursing, you got hope. You know, if that stops, then you got to cycle back and reincarnate or whatever, you know, whatever you believe in. And, you know, it's like, I personally think that we're infinite, you know, and I just don't want to come back and do this shit again. You know, I'd like to address it. And, you know, it's like, and that's what I've given my life to. And, you know, that void is, that emptiness is separation. It's separation anxiety, separation from my creator, God, Buddha, Allah, whatever you want to call it. You know, the infinite radiant is, I don't really care. Whatever the architect of life, you know, whatever that is, that driving force that brings us together, you know, it's like, and when that starts to fill, and it can only be filled with action. You know, love exists. It's everywhere. It's like the wind. You can't see the wind. You can only see a particle caught in it. You can only see the evidence of the wind bending in the trees. You can only see the evidence of you know, a storm, but you can't actually see the wind, at least not yet. You know, you might have been able to in LA every now and then when it got really gray, you know, but even that's the particles in the air, you know? But love's the same way. You can't see love. Love, you can feel it. You can experience it. But you need somebody to be sitting there going, hey, I see you. I see you. I've been there. Hey, you know what? I tried that and it didn't work. I did this and it worked. It might work for you. You know? So that void, filling it with a dependency upon that creation, whatever you want to call it, that relationship with creator.
Yeah. What I'm hearing is that being alone can be difficult, can be challenging, and the healing process can happen through grounding and also through connection with another human being, where we're being mirrored or reflected. Our self is being mirrored and reflected in a very practical, grounded, real way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, and we tend to draw those, everything's happening for us, not to us. Just the power of attraction, two molecules coming together, the larger mass draws that in. So it'd be like the recovered mass draws in the one outside going, what the fuck are they doing over there? And, you know, it's like virtually everybody that I've ever met in recovery was terrified to come into recovery. But when they got there, they went, oh, I'm home.
Community. And
it's not easy, but virtually everyone was like that sense of, you know, and it got me to thinking, you know, it's like underneath the fear, you know, I walk through the world like I want you to think I'm John Wayne. You know, like I got my shit together and I'm just like, you know, nothing bothers me. But inside I feel like Don Knotts, you know, I feel like just everything scares me. You know, why am I so afraid? I'm an infinite being. I'm expansion. I'm abundant. I'm all of these things. Love. I'm kind. You know, why am I so fucking afraid? You know, a lot of it is societal dictates. A lot of it is ancestral wounds that haven't been healed. You know, a lot of it is the collective consciousness. My God, what we're going through now? Holy smokes. You know, it's like, who could have scripted this? You know, it's like, and we all, you know, this is just moving further into the separation. You know, we're all compartmentalized and we're put, you know, it's like, when's the last time you know, it's like, oh, don't go out and put your feet on the ground. You know, you know, that virus is out there. Well, there's a lot of shit that's out there. You know, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, it's like, there's a lot of things that can take us across. But, you know, there's one thing that can bring us through all of that. And that's love. Love for each other. You know, it's like every enlightened master said the same thing. Love is the answer to every question that's ever been asked by anybody at any point in time. They all said the same thing, different reflections of it.
Why do you think people are so scared to love themselves?
I think it's conditional. I think that's the ancestral wounds. I think that comes down from our fathers, mothers. I think there's so many things in our closets, so many atrocities that we've engaged in. That if you know, I can speak for myself. If I unzipped this earth suit and I opened it up until maybe the last decade of my life, when I started to actuate my purpose and step into that, I would have thought you would have seen this ugly pile of shit, this ball of tar, ick, this inside, all of those things I thought I was. But I know today that I'm not the molested child. I'm not a carpenter. I'm not a musician. I'm not a healer. I'm not any, what I am is a radiant orb of love. And if I unzip this earth suit and I opened it up, you would be blinded. It would melt the screen. That's how bright and vibrant love is. And you're that too. And every being that's ever been is as well. But we're not taught that. We're taught that, you know, it's the oldest trick in the book, divide and conquer. If you keep people afraid, you can have them moving in any direction you want. If you keep them sleep deprived, they will sell their mother to you for a moment's rest. And we're all deprived that way. You know, we're conditioned into this. And, you know, and it's like, it's interesting to sit back knowing what I know and watching the world respond to this pseudoscience that I know that I'm a scientist. It's like, I love my spiritual life. I love my scientific life. I love my, you know, it's like, I think the two exist to confirm the existence of each other. You know, but we're all born with three inherent questions. Where did I come from? Where did I just come from? What am I doing here? And where am I going when I die? After that first breath, we start asking ourselves that until we take that last breath, you know? And every enlightened master said the same thing. Love is the answer to every question. So I'm just going to go out on a limb on this one. I'd say I came from love. I'm here to love, and I'm going back to love, you know? And all that fear is all that's ever been in my life is a cry for love in the people and places and things around me. And when I surrender to that and I realize, oh, I drew this in, I take accountability for my part and everything. It's like, because I'm the only person that's ever been in every relationship I've ever been in. I'm the only one. You know, I'm the common thread of all the totality of all my experience. You know, so it's up to me to reconcile and find that peace within my own heart. And where, you know, and what am I going to do with that? What do I do with between that first breath and that last breath? You know, and you know, what I've found is, you know, it's like when I don't know how to do something, go ask somebody that does. You know, go to my elders. You know, my life with the indigenous people taught me that. You know, it's like the elders they're They're a treasure trove of information,
Mm.
and they tried to reinvent the wheel just like we tried to reinvent the wheel. And they got to a certain point in their life where they just, you know what? It is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be. And we're all going to do it together anyhow, whatever it is, we're having a shared global experience. We're in it. We're like, we're in it. We're full immersion. It's like, and it's happening now, and, it's like what I've gone back and, I've been blessed with my life with the indigenous. I've been blessed with my life in recovery with the 4 agreements and the 12, 10 rules of the canoe and the different things that I've been seeing. The common threads through them all is service. So when I bring love, I get love, and if I'm an acceptance of your experience, then I'm free, and I can suspend my judgment, then I'm free to be who I want to be.
Steve, do you feel that there's a lack of eldership in our culture, in our society?
Sadly, yeah. Especially in our culture,
What?
In the culture here, we stuff our elders in nursing homes.
So what did elders used to do?
Oh, they were valued. Like they're super valued. We would sit around the fire, we'd listen to them. Growing up, like communal living, it's like elders were revered. They would be with you. They would be cherished. They'd be honored. And, in indigenous cultures, what the way that worked would be, it's like mom and dad would be out hunting and gathering. The able bodies would be doing able-bodied work. The one, as we get older, it's harder to move. It's hard, but we didn't lose our wisdoms, so grandma and grandpa would be like, this is how you make a bow and arrow. This is how you flint knap no, try it again. This, don't eat that. No, if you cook this way, you can do that, and so they would teach. They'd sit around and, they'd be around that fire and the kids would be playing and, and they would sit and teach and they would observe. They would observe who was selfish, who was giving, who was loving,
Why?
They'd see the kids grow.
Why is the elder wisdom no longer valued?
Short answer, AI. The technological advances, we think we know it all. We think we fucking know it all. Even Einstein was like to the end until he got to the end, and he was just like, if you read his letter to his daughter, he's like, there has to be a God. Yeah, and he wasn't an advocate of quantum physics until he was. Even a brilliant mind like Einstein's, we think we know it all. We think we don't know it all, and that's part of the driving force of evolution. We need to be better than our ancestors were because our problems are more complicated. But the spiritual truths that govern them and all beings that live, whether you're plant, mineral, or animal, those spiritual laws of accountability, gravity, karma, all of these things, they're truths that, it's like we need air, period. We need it. It's not a if, maybe. Water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Doesn't think about it. It just does it. You can count on it. Math is a spiritual truth. And in our quest, in our hero's journey, and going up and trying to find ourselves, and we have to fledge the nest, and well, we don't have to, but many are driven to. Some stay home. I don't want to be in judgment of that. It's like we all have our own purpose, but that's the spirit that leaves and goes and searches for, look, I got this. I know you did that, but that applies to your antiquated ways. I'm going to go do that. And then as we get older, then we go, oh my God, that's what Grandpa said. It's like, and it's more true now than it was then, because he went on his quest too, and unfortunately in today's society, we've gotten to the place where family has been blasted apart, where moms and dads have to both be out of the house, not raising their own children. Most families, I won't say all, my hands go up to you and I shall. I love that it's like there's an inherent wisdom in everybody getting this time out. Mothers and fathers are with their children now. I love that. I absolutely love that. You don't get those moments back. And I think we went through this period between the 50s to really recently, where the cost of living just went astronomical through the roof, that economic ladder, those rungs, those middle class rungs that got removed, just made it really a giant leap from those who have to those who don't. And for some reason, the human experience needs a lot of contrast, to evolve, evidently, because it's like, if we were all in a state of love, not necessarily, you don't have to like somebody to love them. We would honor the fact of their inalienable rights to simply be, So I think it's circumstantial. I think that's, it's like, and what we've done is we've taken our elders and people, I know hardships come about, but they get stuffed into nursing homes and we wait for our inheritance so we can get a leg up, and it's become the norm instead of like a circumstantial thing, which is sad. It's really sad.
Can you envision, Steve, a peaceful coexistence with technology and Mother Earth?
Wow. Yeah. Why not? I think anything is possible. I need to believe that anything's possible. I think if we approached it lovingly and we had those hard conversations, those real ones, and not shy away from them. That's what I love about you and what you do, Alexander. You bring to the table the difficult conversations. You're illuminating. You're an illuminating warrior. You're bringing that out. It's a beautiful thing to see your evolution. And here we are on this technology experiencing each other's evolution. So can it? Of course it can. But it has to be done conscientiously. It has to be done lovingly, and I can tell you, if it's done fearfully, I can tell you the byproduct of that. Garbage in, garbage out, man. Love in, love out.
Yeah. And I got to be honest, Steve, you say that I talk about those things that are hard to talk about, and I bring illumination, but at the same time, I kind of want more people to listen and more people to be willing to go to those places, that you have gone, or go to those places where, they might not be ready to go. And, sometimes I get, when I go into my personal shadow, it's essentially nobody wants to hear this, or that people aren't ready to hear this, or they're just going to go back into, watching gold digger videos on YouTube. And it's like, at what point does somebody say, okay, I'm ready to heal. I'm ready to face those parts of myself that are hard to face. I'm ready to look at those places that I've been scared to look at. What do you think that turning or tipping point is for people?
It's usually when we hit rock bottom. Very few people will come into recovery and go, everything's really cool, man. I just thought I'd come in and see what you guys are doing. It's like, everything's just fucking groovy, man. It's like, it's all good. You know, it's like we come in on the balls of our ass, just completely inside out, because we've tried everything we possibly could. And thank God there was somebody who had already gone through it. You know, if it's got a name, somebody else did it. It's an experience that someone else had. Enough people had it for it to be named. You know, we're unique as individuals, but our experiences, yeah, they're custom tailored for us. You know, but it's the rare human being, you know, that can learn from other people's lessons. Mm. And I think those have been through, you know, everybody's got to wake up, the sky's falling, all of this. That may be true, it may be falling, but I think it would be a mess if everybody woke up. I'm counting on people staying asleep, you know, because people are very sheep in their approach. You know, sheeple, you know, the majority will go where the herd goes. So that's why I focus on, that's where, you know, I realize I'm a healer's healer. It's like I'm focusing on bringing the healers through that inventory process, through the vision quest process, through those rites of passage, so they can stop, drop, and roll and take some time out without distraction, without their phones, without their girlfriends, their wives, their children, without their drums, their medicines, anything. Just you and the world, just you and your creator, and whatever people want to come visit you, the fin, feathered, and furred. If an eagle wants to come sit with you, or, you know, it's like a bear walks up, or whatever, a worm pops its face. I don't know. Faces.
Worm head.
Worm head out, you know, whatever it is, you know, somebody shows up, you know, whether it's in the physical realm or in the spiritual realm or in the confines of your mind, doesn't matter. But when we sit in that contemplation without distraction and ask these questions, what do I believe in today, not yesterday, not last year? Why do I believe that? Is it because dad said to? Is it because my wife expects this from me? Or is it because the person I look up to, that's what they're doing? So maybe that might be, you know, it doesn't really, but how do I feel about it? How do I really feel about when nobody's looking and it's just you and me, creator, you know? Because I can't lie, you know, my last vision quest, it's like, I thought I dealt with all of the relationships and all of that stuff. And man, that stuff came down hard. And I'm like, I dealt with this. My guides are like, no, you haven't. I'm like, no, I dealt with it. They're like, you haven't dealt with it. And I'm like, I fucking dealt with it. And they're like, if you dealt with it, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm arguing with myself. I'm arguing with an idiot. It's like, okay, what do I do to deal with it? Guide me. You're my guides, guide me. You know? And it's so vital to ask ourselves those, and it doesn't have to be in a formal vision. We need to ask ourselves those things. And that's what I'm saying. You know, if we waited until we were healed to help people heal, nothing would get done. You deal with one bag of shit and boop, it's like whack-a-mole. Another one pops up and it's like, oh, there it is. Oh, that's me too. You know? So it's like the beauty of watching your evolution on this technology, you know, to be able to see that, you know, and it's not about reaching any point. It's about being authentic in the point that we have reached.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Steve, what does this next generation need?
Love. Truthfully.
All right, we're done. We're done.
Mic drop. What do they need? They need, you know, my purpose is to make sure that they have what they need. Clearly, most urgently, we need air. good, clean air to breathe. It's the most immediate thing we have to do. That will take us across to the other side. The next thing we need is water, good, clean water. It's like, as a fellow water protector, and these guys here, I draw on them, They need good food that they can trust, food they actually can trust that has nutrients in it, and they need to be loved. They need to know community. They need to, we can't, the hero's quest, we go to the mountain by ourselves. But, virtually every time you go to that mountain, you realize how much you need everyone else. And if you reach spiritual enlightenment and you're in a cave in some mountain in Tibet, or good for you. But what's that doing for the us? What's that doing for the collective consciousness? What's that doing for the, I know prayer is really powerful. We hold Sweat Lodge and we pray every new moon, every full moon, every equinox, it's like, I pray every day. I know the power of that prayer. I know all these sacred fires that are lit are all connected through the center of the earth. And every single one of my brothers and sisters that are called to those fires and are doing that work, we're there holding. My prayer right now is that those people, myself included, I'm walking that path. I pray for my safety and my, for my voice to be able to, to be heard and received. And I pray for my heart to change as it needs to change. Right now, personally, I'm going through a huge softening in my heart. As I get more in touch of the feminine energy within myself, making more space for the women in the world to stand safely by the fire. Without, I'm doing that men's work to be conscientious in this world. I'm alone right now. I don't want to be alone. I know, it's like, but I can't let my aloneness turn into predaciousness around a sacred fire. I need to do that work within. I need to, and it's hard. It's really difficult because you know what? The woman I would want to be, I'm going to reword that. The woman I deserve to be with would be right at home at a sacred fire. So that's where I'm going to meet her. But I can't lean in on her. I can't hold that space with ulterior motives. We need to create a place that's safe for our children. We need to create a place that's safe for the women in the world. They're the life givers. We need the men, they should be at the center. They should be the men. Our job as men is to hold that space in a good way. Divest ourselves, not from our humanness, not from our needs and our desires, because, our needs and our desires that's what brought us all here in the first place. We all got here the same way. So it's not that our sexuality or any of that is bad. And so we need to hold that. We need to hold our light and hold our strength in a way that allows it to be safe for everyone. To come and for those children. I saw I saw Phoenix around that fire when we did Vision Quest in Oregon. Just doing it. Like, nobody's teaching him how to do it. He's just poking it. Nobody's saying, oh, careful, that's hot. Like, as if, of course it's hot. It's fire. We inherently know that, It's like, and you and I, Shell, allowed him, and the community was around. If he was in harm's way, somebody would have stepped up. One of his uncles or aunties would have stepped up and gone, no, not that. And he'd protest a little bit, but then he'd get it, And that to me, I think that's what we need. We need those sacred fires, whether they're physical or metaphorical. You know, we need those spaces, you know, and I'd never rail on organized religions or anything like that. You know, it's like, you know, because they serve a purpose too. You know, they serve a purpose. Anything that brings us together in the name of wellness, you know, it's not, you know, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. The Christ consciousness is one of my favorite spirit guides. You know, he sits with me all the time. You know, I love him. I love the Buddha mind. I love, you know, I love anybody I love you. I love anybody who's doing the work, who's saying, hey, perhaps maybe we're doing something that we should do something differently. Maybe, I don't know. And I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to, you know, it's like, and, you know, when we are clear, like, I don't always share that I was molested as a child. But I can tell you virtually every time that I've shared it in a meeting, I usually speak about it being like cryptically. I went through some shit when I was a kid I wasn't equipped to deal with, you know, it's like, and as a consequence, I felt like I was walking through life with a plate glass window between me and every experience that I ever experienced, because I could see it, but I couldn't feel it, because you can't numb out the pain. It works to numb out the pain, but you can't be selective. It numbs the joy, the love, and all the good stuff in life too. So you're like, it's like you're on Prozac. You're just like, you know, you don't feel. And I didn't come here not to feel, you know, and, you know, but virtually every time I shared, like my guides would tell your full story this time, Steve. I'm like, oh God, okay. Well, and I've had people get up and leave, but virtually every time somebody in that room has come up and gone afterwards, I've never told anybody this, but something like that happened to me too.
Yeah. And you just did that for a lot of people watching. So I want to thank you and acknowledge you for that, Steve. Appreciate that vulnerability.
Thank you. Service is the verb of love. And, you know, it doesn't matter if it's drugs, alcohol, being a survivor of child molestation. If I take my experience, what I've been through, and I use it to help someone else who has been through a similar experience, then even being molested as a child happened for me, not to me. Because now I can use that as a vehicle for their wellness. And now that experience of mine has become medicine.
Yes.
I didn't see this coming.
What turns a boy into a man?
His choice to become a man. I've met 80-year-old boys. I watched one run my country. And I pray for him and them. Unfortunately, those rites of passage, those ancient ways that societally we used to go through that have been devoid from our culture. Those are the things that brought us, that helped us fledge the nest, that got us to, you know, societally we would go, hey, go on, find your way. You find your way back. Don't worry about it. It's a little more faith than fear. Just go. Climb the mountain. Go ahead, check it out. Now we live such a sheltered life, such a guarded life. With, you know, everybody's suing everybody for just trying to find their way. You know, and there's appropriate times for lawsuits and all that. You know, it's like we have to have governance. But we need to be more self-governing. You know, my mother didn't allow me to have my driver's license. I didn't get it until I got out of school. She was so afraid that I would die at that wheel of a car. I was just circling the drain. She could see the symptoms. She didn't know why. She could see it. So she didn't let me grow up. And I probably would have died. I don't know. I could have died. There's a potentiality for that, sure. But as is, once I got my license, I got in the wreck anyhow. I went through windshields and I did all the things I was going to do anyhow, because it's what I had to do to be who I am. It's just the path that I took. Not everybody takes this path. Not everybody has, the school of hard knocks. I'm a knucklehead, man. It's like, I got to go feel and breathe and taste and experience it for myself to internalize it. So I think that's the process of, you hear what the elders say and then you challenge it and then you rebel and then you go back and then you find the same truth, because that's what you're going to find are the spiritual laws that govern all beings, apply to all beings miraculously, which means you too. And at that point, it's like, oh, so if I count on those, it doesn't matter if I'm riddled with fear and anxiety from point A to point B. It's still going to be the same distance. It's still going to take the same time. But if I trust and I'm in love and not in fear from point A to point B, I'm going to have a totally different experience between that breath and that breath. And if like attracts alike, I will call in everything that I need to have what I need when I get to point B. I don't have to carry it. It will be there.
So if a boy wants to become a man, how does he go about that process?
I think that's our job as it's the job of elders and adults to hold that space, to give them the opportunities of the places. It's like around the fire, allow them to, don't just watch me, get your hands dirty, fix the engine, change the oil. It's like grow the food, get in the garden. It's like get your face out of the screen. Instead of living a virtual reality, get out there and be that reality, because, we're creating an environment to which is imitating life. That's not art in my book. It's prison.
So this shift in consciousness from boyhood to manhood, are elders necessary?
I'd say absolutely. But absolutely, even if they say nothing, they anchor it down.
And does it happen over time, over many years, or does it happen in one ceremony or one instance?
I think it happens over the course of a lifetime. I can speak for myself. It's like I barely am learning the questions. And when I was in my 30s, I thought I knew everything. When I was in my 20s, I was just like, oh my God, I got a really great idea. And I got into my 30s and it's like, oh, maybe they'll start listening to me now.
So you don't feel, Steve, that one rite of passage can turn a boy into a man?
I think it can set him in a direction. I think what he does after that is entirely up to him. And I think that the majority of us, them, we, they will have to strike out on their own anyhow. But knowing that the fire's there, I was 12-stepped when I was 14 years old. I went on to write my story, but when I was ready to come back to recovery, I knew it existed. So I think that it's important. The tools have to be safeguarded. They have to be in existence for them to be applied. But it's not like, here's the tool. It's not my job to what you do with the tool. My job is to make sure that the tool's here for you when and I think it's the same in the rites of passage. It's like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. It's like, that's why when you ask me what makes a boy a man, I'm like, it's his choice to become a man. But if he doesn't have if he doesn't have the ingredients available to him, if he doesn't have elders who went before, who, you know, because like the younger adults are still in that got a point to prove thing, you know, and they still like a lot of ego coming in, but that's valuable information too. It's like, you know, it's like, you want your balls to drop, watch my balls drop, you know? And then, you know, and if you really want to know what it's about, go talk to the guy's balls that dropped to his knees already, you know, because he's got nothing to prove anymore. And he's testimony to, I mean, he did something right. He's alive. You know, he did something right consistently for a while, you know, making plenty of mistakes, but it's like, you know, it's all a process. I don't think it's a one size fits all, but it's a journey. It's not a destination. And, you know, it's like, if we can divorce ourselves from like having to, like, we're not going to arrive anywhere. You know, it's like, it's a choice to be at peace throughout the journey, but very few people experience it that way. But it really is a choice.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but someone could be a boy today and a man tomorrow, or there could be a person who's a man today and a boy tomorrow.
Yeah. I think it goes both ways, and I think we can progress or digress contingent upon the environment that we're in. You know I learn more from young kids because they're in the moment. I learn a lot from them. I remember this little kid, she was 4 years old. She went out and she was playing out in the rain. She came and I put her, you know, I took her boots off and I put her up by the fire, and, you know, my girlfriend's daughter, you know, it's like, and I just said, oh, just let those puppies dry out and you know, and I'll go get some cocoa. And I turn around, I walk to go get the cocoa, and she's like, she's looking at her feet. She heard me call them puppies, and she was just like so in the moment. Yeah. She thought she'd just talk with her puppies. She didn't know she had puppies. But that, you know, that childlike posture, the wonderment of it all, the longer we can hold on to that, that's what spawns our curiosity in a way that, you know, the older we get, our egos get in there, and then we got all kinds of assignments of what it's got to look like and attachments to how it's going to be and not be. You know, if we're childlike, not childish in our approaches, and I think that's where the elders come in, and, you know, and the closer they get to crossing over, they can become pretty childish too. You know, we start to digress. We start to lose it. And, you know, that's all part of it. Yes. We still have an obligation to take care of them through that process, just as we would the child, you know?
Yeah. So in these rites of passage that we're talking about, there's vision quest, there's plant medicine ceremonies, there's near-death experiences, car accidents, times when people connect with God, and however that might happen. There's all of these different things that can show you and teach you, you know, or maybe suggest to you what you're here for, right? So you might get the download from these experiences. But what you're saying, Steve, is that choice in that direction. It sounds like it's a choice every day. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much. I mean, if I'm honest with the world, there's times that I just don't want to play. I want to pull the sheets up over my head and just like, I'm not getting out of bed. You know, I've had a lot of those throughout this whole pandemic, you know, and I've had to accept the fact that this is happening for us, not to us too, you know, in those plant medicines and all of those, you know, and in all of the things that you said, you know, it's like, I've experienced all of those, you know, it's like medicine used medicinally is medicine. Anything that brings us to wellness. In my book, that's this right here, this baleen, the wisdom of the whale, the wisdom keepers. That's medicine to me. It may not mean anything to anyone else, But anything that brings us together in the name of wellness is medicine. And if it brings you to your creator, if you're sitting with a grandmother vine and she brings you to that awareness, her purpose is to bring you to the edge of your death so you can come back and fully live your life. She's highly effective. Highly effective. The grandfather medicines, those same, used medicinally, they're very, very effective in bringing us to the places where we just, it helps us divorce ourselves from the constructs of society and all of the things that, it just expands in that way. But if we're sitting in the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again, we can say, like, am I doing this to get high? Am I doing this to find myself? What am I doing this for? So intention, that's why when you said what makes a boy a man, intention makes a boy a man. He chooses to be one. If those medicines are bringing you to your wellness, praise God, praise Goddess, whatever you want to praise. You end up there. I don't care if you go to AA meetings to get later and have the cookies and drink the coffee. But if you get sober because you did, it's like, who am I to say what's right and what's wrong? It's like anything that brings us to that place, whether it's Vision Quest, my medicine, my personal, it's like I work with the Carol people. I work with nations in North and South America. It's like, I love the Caro's approach. The alchemy of their medicine is completely intentional, and it's the harmonization of the masculine and feminine energy. And when you achieve that within, nothing bothers me. When I'm in balance within myself, it's like, however everybody's acting, it's like, oh, that's not me. If I'm triggered, if I spot it, I got it, but if I'm in harmony with myself, pretty much, it's not much happening around me that I can't walk through,
I love that.
And the more flags that I wave, I'm just trying to get attention, it's like, if I just walk and trust the spiritual laws that govern all beings, I'm going to end up talking with you because our paths are parallel. I'm going to end up talking with people who understand and have invested enough time in those sacred fires within themselves and have explored, and it's like, it's like, and my mentors, a lot of them are dying. It really saddens me that they're dying alone. That you can't go see them. It really bothers me. In our Creator's infinite wisdom, we're going through what we're going through. I don't know what that is. I don't know why it is. But I'm an advocate of whatever's going to bring you home. Whatever's going to bring you to that state of grace, that happy, joyous, and free in all circumstances. Whatever brings you into the center of you, that allows you to accept me so I can come into the center of me, so I can allow you to be you.
I love the way you say that.
I live for the betterment of all beings, Alexander. I believe all right has a right to be. All life. And I just, it's a really colorful time to live in. It's like, clearly I'm getting in touch with my feminine right now. She's just telling me it's okay, Steve. There's sadness, be sad. I don't have to live there. But I'm tired of just pretending. I'm tired of pretending. I'm tired of, in this world of fake news and, I know what lands on my heart. I'm either drawn into it or I'm repelled from it. It's either love or it's fear. Really boils down to that. And I'm finding in my own personal experience, it's like I've decided to divorce myself from those energies that tear me down. And I've had to simplify it because I'm stupid. Like, I can't figure that shit out myself. So if you're not lifting me up, you're tearing me down. That's how I had to simplify it. And then I had to, oh, well, that's a little extreme, okay. If you're neutral in my world, I could, it's okay. But even that's just like kind of a waste of time, because the only thing we have in this life is time. It doesn't matter how much I acquire, how much I accumulate, how much, it's like, because it's like, it doesn't matter if I owe you $6 or $60 or $600 or $6,000, the feeling's the same. I owe you money, and I don't like owing you money, so it doesn't really matter. It's like, it's just, I need to be authentic to my feelings. I need to be authentic to what my truth is at the time. And I need to allow for that truth to change, because change is the only constant in this world.
Beautiful. You mentioned this search for love, the search for healing, and we also talked about psychedelics. And I want to ask you, what is the difference between a psychedelic trip and a sacred experience?
Well, again, I'll go with intention. For me, a ceremony is approached ceremonially. I would wrap that around the moon cycle, around the solar cycle. I would wrap that around something that means something to me, that my purpose is to, if I'm suffering from separation anxiety, if that's the chief motivator for self-injurious behavior, and I'm convinced that it is, I'll speak for myself. So my journey has been to connect with creation. Because I could stand in the world with that glass window between me, and I could be with 10,000 people and be all alone. So I would prepare for that ceremony. I would cleanse my body, my mind, my soul. I would do my best to set an intention, have a purpose. I wouldn't just approach it like somebody calls me, oh, there's guy doing this ceremony today. Come on. We got room, I wouldn't do it that way. And that's for me. I'd prepare for that. And I would sit with that one medicine. I'd get my food right. I'd get my sugars right. I'd get my spirit right. And I would go and I would sit with somebody who knows how to hold that container. So I can fully surrender to the experience, because again, just like a young man needs to feel safe to become a man, a boy needs to feel safe in that, and I'm going to that. I'm going as a boy. I'm going there to let go of what I think I know. I'm going there to learn what I don't know. I need to feel safe in that. There's very few of us that could just go and do that on their own. There are those who can, and I'm a person who I don't really have teachers. I've been walking this path on my own. There hasn't been anybody showing, it's like, not that there aren't people walking the road. I'm just saying that I'm a tactile, experiential person. And so I hold containers for people, and I hold space for people. But in those circumstances, the benefit of sitting and having somebody hold that space so I'm safe, that they know the process and don't interrupt my process. They just keep me safe and allow me my process. It's been immeasurable. It's brought me to places that I wouldn't have gone. I wouldn't have been able to go. You did that for me with the cold water. You held that space in that way. I was terrified. I don't know if you picked that up, but I was. You know, heat's my thing. I do sweat lodges. You know, it's the polar end of my comfortability. But because you made it safe for me, I was able to go in there and do that and sit and pray and have that experience. You know, and I think that's vital. I think that's in all of those, whatever paths we're called to, you know, it's like, you know, it's exploring something to better ourselves. It's a beautiful thing. You know,
I love that.
Medicine used it habitually as addiction, you know, but used medicinally, it's medicine. Only the individual can tell. You know, and I don't want to put my, you know, I'm a recovering alcoholic and junkie. I don't want to put my shit on anybody else. You know, that's just my stuff. You know, it's like, I'm the one with the broken switch. I don't know how you know, I know people who can smoke 2 or 3 cigarettes a week. That's just like beyond my comprehension. If I have a cigarette, I'm back to a pack a day. You know, it's like instantly, you know, and, you know, so yeah.
So how did you go from this journey of alcoholism to recovering alcoholic to guiding vision quests?
Service. I helped my landlord's father in Hawaii. We went on a road trip and ended up in La Push, Washington with the Quileute people. And then I was invited onto a paddle journey, tribal journeys in the Pacific Northwest, and didn't know what a big deal that was. Nothing like a powwow, nothing like, you know, they call them potlatches. And our final destination, we paddled for 2 weeks in their dugout canoes, and our final destination, there were 10,000 indigenous people on the shore greeting us. There were over 78 canoes and 1,400 people paddling. And there were 2 white people in that whole crowd. And they invited me back the next year. And that turned into, you know, my friends and family in Hawaii, they were, can we come? So I ended up I asked permission if I could bring them. And I asked Leonard Forsman, he's Suquamish tribal council member, about my age. And I asked permission to bring the Hawaiian people, and he looked at me. He says, "What's in it for you, Steve?" And I was like, whoa. Besides front row seats, the most spectacular journey I've ever seen in my life, can I ask you a question first? He said, yeah. I said, my understanding of the paddle journeys, and this applies to the question. My understanding of the paddle journeys and Vision Quest and all these rites of passage is to take the wisdom of the ancestors and apply them to our lives today, the current affairs of our lives today. So the wisdoms and the generations that follow don't get lost. I said, is that what paddle journeys are about? And he said, yeah, that's exactly what paddle journeys are about. And I said, well, you know, Hawaii's sons and daughters need that too. And he said, Steve, we'd be blessed to have you bring our relatives to us. And he gave me permission. And that opened up doors, to where I started sun dancing with the Lakota people. I started working down in Peru with the Karo people, and seeing all the common threads and, you know, of the wisdoms of the indigenous people. I work with hundreds of different tribes, you know, and I've been blessed. They're like, the hell is he doing here? And then the next year they're like, the hell is he doing here? You know, and then the following year they're like, yay, Steve, we're having a barbecue. Who you got? Oh, the Hawaiians, Shinnecock, bring them too. Come on, let's go. You know, and it's been a healing. You know, it's not something that I ever set out to do. You know, it's just something that evolved. And as I walked and I learned, the key was being of service. I'd see an elder that was cold and I'd bring them a cup of coffee. I'd see a kid that was crying and I'd stop and I'd just sit. And being of service, and they saw recovery in me. My sponsor told me a long time ago, he said, Steve, you live your life as if you're the only copy of the big book somebody gets to read. And it boils down, he was telling me, be the action of the program. Be the verb of love. That's what he was telling me. And as a consequence, it's like I started to see the common threads. I started to see the pieces that were missing, that weren't missing in their societies. And they said, hey, I remember when I didn't set out to pour a sweat lodge. I just called up my elders and said, my friends are asking to go pray with the Shinnecock. I told them that it's not my call. It's not my house. It's like, I can tell you how to behave when you get there, but I can't give you permission to go. And they go, that's right. And they said, it's time to build a sweat lodge. And I'll go, good, when are you coming? And they're like, we're not coming. And I'm like, what am I building a lodge for? They go, you pour it. And I'm like, well, who says I'm pouring a lodge? I said, well, Steve, what do you think we've been teaching you these things for? You build the lodge, you sing our songs until your songs come through. You show your people what's been missing. So when they, when they come and pray with us, they'll know how to behave. So wherever they go and pray, they'll know how to behave. They've forgotten how to behave. And we have. And it's no fault. Our fathers forgot how to behave. Our fathers' forgot how to behave. We've got this sense of entitlement as if we're in the pinnacle of existence. Supposedly the most intelligent beings there are, but these guys started on land and then they went into the ocean.
The whales.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you showed up with an open heart, with humility, and you said, I'm here to learn. And you spent many years with the indigenous people. And at some point they said, well, you learned and now it's time for you to serve.
Yeah, pretty much. Other than, and my brother asked me this question, well, what does red cloth mean? What does the string mean? I go, I don't know. He goes, well, ask them. And I go, that's really not what I'm doing. I didn't ask for anything. I just trust that they showed me what I needed to know when I needed to know it. Because so much has been taken from indigenous people. I mean, everywhere you look is indigenous land. If you're in North America, everywhere you look, I can't imagine what that's like to live knowing that, for them. So much has been taken. So I showed up to be of service, and they saw that. They saw that and they said, and they didn't believe it. They went from this to like this. Yeah. Because they saw it, not because of anything that I said. Yeah. And so they generously have given me permission to do the same, to bring people through these processes. Some of them, not all of them. They also said, do it the way that you feel is right. We see you. We see that you'll honor our ways and that you'll respect our protocols as you develop your own. And I have that permission from my Sundance chief, David Swallow. He's a Lakota elder, and he's in Pine Ridge. I Sundance with him and his homeland. And one of the parts of that is that you have to sweat to purify to go into the arbor and dance with them. And there was nobody to pour that sweat for me. And he turned around and he said, Steve, you know what you're doing. Go sweat yourself off. He let me pour water on his land. It was one of the biggest healings I've ever experienced, was during that Sundance. And spirits came out of the ground. And they kept chanting, forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness.
Beautiful. And now, so now you hold these spaces for others, and you're hosting these vision quests. What would you say to someone who's thinking about maybe doing a vision quest for the first time?
Congratulations. It's one of the best things you could ever do for yourself. And I think everybody should go through the process. I'm not attached at all, remotely attached at all, whether people do that with me. It would be a blessing to hold that space for who's called. There would be there's a process to go through. There's protocols to go through with that, it's like I'm realizing, that just not everybody, I'm not, just because I can work with anybody doesn't mean that I'm supposed to, but I think that I really believe in the process that I know it's been instrumental in mine. I've been in recovery for decades, and the fourth step and a lot of lots of different avenues of finding myself and looking for myself and looking for peace in my heart. And to date, this is the deepest, most resonant experience that I've ever experienced. It really has humbled me and redirected my life into where that I've, as a master builder, I'm a master carpenter. I quit doing that. I quit doing that with no safety net, of no monetary safety net, to give myself to walk in these ways, and bring people through, be in service in that way, and it's that's how much I believe in it.
Thank you. When is your next event, Steve? And where is it?
I'm going to be holding Vision Quest in Joshua Tree, California, gathering. This is all wrapped around the solar calendar, the solstice, and the moon cycles, so there's a moon cycle to each side of the solar cycle. So we're going to do it in Joshua Tree. I'm doing this in the spring and then the fall. In Joshua Tree, in June, gathering June 9th to the 13th. And then we will be in upstate New York, about an hour north in Bloomingburg, on the solstice. And that's going to be June, I think it's 22nd. The 19th to the 24th. And then we're going to go to Oregon after that. And that will be from the 28th. I should pull my phone out. I don't have the dates exactly.
We'll post them in the bio.
I will post them. Yeah. They are the actual places, and that's all being worked out, because so much has changed. And but yes, it's going to be on the solstice, and then we'll do it again in the fall on the equinox. And the reason for that is there's two aspects. You're the people questing, and then there's supporters. And so, in the couple situation or just friends or whatever, it's like people can help. They can support their friend or their partner in the spring, and their partner can quest, and then they can quest in the fall, and their partner can support them. So I'm modeling it to do it twice a year in the same locations for people. So for that aspect, so that's when I'm doing it in the Northern Hemisphere.
Beautiful. I can't wait to our next conversation. And thank you for coming on and getting vulnerable and talking and sharing about your journey, Steve. It was really an honor to get to know you even better. I already know you. You're a friend. and you're a mentor of mine. So I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Alexander. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you. And I lift my hands up to the work that you're doing. And I feel the same way. Give my love to Ishel and to Phoenix. And I can't wait till we get together again.
Absolutely, brother. See you soon.
All right. I hope.
I hope.